To you, a warm welcome to Prime Business with me, Pius Kojo Baka. In our very first story, Finance Minister Dr. Kasel Atuforsen has formally begun work at the Finance Ministry. But what are some of the issues that will be the top on the minister's agenda for today? Here's a report.
Joy Business understands that there has been some engagement with directors at the Ministry of Finance. This could be basically described as an informal interaction with these individuals that are expected to help him run the Ministry of Finance. Sources say there could be some 1 or 2 visits to some institutions under the Finance Ministry. We are learning that the Finance Minister could visit the Ghana Revenue Authority with some meetings with the former Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority and the newly appointed Commissioner General Anthony Sapo. For some, as the Finance Minister Dr. Atuforsen begins work, one of his major challenges will be how to improve revenue mobilization, especially at the time that his government has promised to remove some taxes. The Minister of Finance has also vowed to cut expenditure to deal with the rise in debt stock. But looking at some of the ambitious projects that they've outlined in their party manifesto, like the Big Push, can this plan to rein in on spending come to pass? Engaging some staff at the Ministry of Finance, some of them have described Dr. Atuforsen as someone with good human relations and approachable. This is based on their engagement with him when he was the Deputy Minister of Finance at the ministry.
So let's see how his day went today at the Finance Ministry when he interacted with some officials at the Ministry of Finance. There you go. Shaking hands with staff at the Ministry of Finance and, of course, engaging some international institutions as well. We shall be bringing you more subsequently. Now, some banks are linking the current pressure on the cedi to limited supply of dollars by the Bank of Ghana. Here's more from George Yafe.
Data picked up from some of the commercial banks showed that demand over the past week is coming from corporates and firms operating in these sectors, as most of them are trying to restock for the year. The current pressure on the Ghana cedi, according to some market analysts, is purely a demand and supply issue. The Bank of Ghana is still in a strong position to support the Ghana cedi, looking at their current state of reserves. Therefore, some market analysts have described it as interesting, looking at the limited support of dollars on the market. However, some have argued that following the resumption of debt repayment to bondholders since October last year, there's a need for the central bank to be tactful over how it uses its reserves. Even if you restrict yourselves to the bank rates, it has moved from the 14 cedis range to $1 when it comes to the rates from 2 weeks ago to now more than 15 Ghana cedis to $1. For some, the first quarter pressure is expected, with some even describing it as perennial, but maybe some fresh measures need to be introduced to slow the rate of depreciation against the US dollar.
More within the finance space, and Chief Executive Officer of Opportunity International Savings and Loans and also the former board chair of the Ghana Association of Savings and Loans Companies, Kwame Owusu-Boateng, has expressed worry over the high cost of credit in the country. He argues this is not healthy for the growth of the sector, hence the need for government to address the macroeconomic challenges. He spoke to Joy Business.
Institutions have to build the capacity, build high standards of the infrastructure related to cybersecurity in line with the corporate governance directives. The internal processes have to be organized in a way that prevents or is able to reduce or eliminate such threats, and the customers also have to be engaged and socialized and educated on practices within the cyberspace so that when they see an incoming threat, they're able to deal with it even from their perspective as well.
Now, let me still take you back to the cost of credit. How do we get our head around this? Because it's been difficult for especially the ordinary Ghanaian who want to go out there, you know what, how do we get our head around this?
I think that is a whole ecosystem of the market indicators. It doesn't rely on just one individual institution to say, I'll bring cost of credit below 20%. The whole ecosystem has to come together. So you see inflation, the forex, the cost of doing business, utilities, you know, all our branches. So we have 38 branches. If you don't have power, what you have to do is that you have to run 38 generators across this. And if the fuel is also high, there's a multiplier effect on that. So the whole ecosystem of the economics of running operations has to work in favor of all of us. It is in that situation that now institutions will begin to feel that their margins are not squeezed for sustainability reasons, so that you don't pass on this cost to the customer. So it's a whole ecosystem of the market indicators, the operational efficiency of the institutions, and etc. The cost of money, like we said earlier on. The cost of money is high, the cost of delivering the credit to the customer. When I say cost of money, how you assess your funding. If you're assessing loans from local sources or even from international lenders, and the conditions are not favorable, the rates are not favorable, then definitely, as you pass it on as loans, it's going to be at a higher rate. Some institutions actually even source foreign denominated currency loans. And if you are using CD to pay back these loans, it becomes very expensive. So it's a whole lot of things. Even the area of risk management is important for the cost of credit.
The immediate past president of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Dr. Clement Seamwaku, is calling for stronger collaboration between the government and the private sector to effectively implement the 24-hour economy policy. According to him, it is important to engage the business community on the modalities of the policy. Now, speaking to Joy Business, Dr. Seamwaku maintains that when thoroughly executed, the economy will be industrialized.
Talk about 24-hour economy means that the economy has to work every time, every hour, every second. And government cannot do this without the cooperation of the private sector. The PPP that we have been mentioning of how to sustain businesses, because if businesses are not working, how do you talk about 24/7 economy, right? Yeah, so you need to collaborate with the private sector to do that. Now that he's drumming into our ears that we can work for 24-hour economy, we can work for 24-hour, we are now looking at businesses that we have not thought of, that we can do within 24 hours to support the economy, where we think that when the security and everything is okay, we can do that. So that alone, that concept alone, talking about it, tells us that we are looking at industrialization. And it doesn't go with the industry only. It must go with the service sector as well. Because it's a chain of work that when the industry are able to do that, we must know where we will get our raw materials, whether we are producing them locally, we are importing them for some industrialization, whether we still have the labor force. And over here, you realize that we have labor force, a lot of people are sitting down, not getting work to do. And if I tell you what I've seen with recent times when I visited some ghettos and the youth that are smoking, they don't have a future. It is on us, incumbent on us as leaders, to work in partnership with the government and make sure that we create jobs. So it's about job creation, it's about industrialization.
The Minister-designate for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Dzifa Gomashie, has assured that she will collaborate with the Finance Minister to consider the removal of some taxes in the hospitality industry to reduce high hotel prices and make Ghana a preferred tourism destination.
An unending discussion, especially where the hotel rates are concerned. Even hotels that have franchise in other countries, ours tend to be very high comparatively. So I agree with you that the lack of infrastructure to meet the growing demands of the world and our country is there in our faces. Apart from engaging with the Minister for Finance, I think that everybody and anyone listening to me who has the wherewithal to engage with private sector in Ghana, out of Ghana, to ensure that we improve on our infrastructure capacity. You are welcome to engage with me after the vetting, and if I do get your nod, this is an issue that we must deal with. I agree with you that the lack of these facilities indeed take away from what could be revenue for our country. Taxes, taxes, taxes. It has been the cry of the hospitality industry from way back when I used to MC their events, and I was not even in the ministry as deputy minister. I've emceed a lot of programs for this sector, and it is an issue that we must collectively deal with. I overheard the incoming Minister for Finance, Honorable Atuforsen, saying that he has studied this economy so well, and he has a fair idea how he wants to help us as a country restructure it. I'll be tagging along him and lobbying him vigorously. And I know that you're an economic person as well. And since you identify this problem with me, you perhaps would want to join me to have these kinds of conversations with the finance people so they appreciate the enormity of the task ahead.
Let's explore our sessions a bit further. Joining us now via Zoom is the president of the Ghana National Chamber of Hotels Association, Edward Akanyamike Jr. Thanks so much, Edward, for joining us here on Prime Business. And I'm wondering whether you are hopeful that the minister will go through with her plans to fight the removal of some taxes, you think?
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and good evening to your listeners and viewers. I hope so. I hope so, except that I think the minister lost a fine opportunity to demonstrate a deep understanding of the complex build-up of our hotel pricing. More so when it's an issue that I'm sure she should have expected to be asked at the vetting. Because it's something that is always talked about. Everybody seems to complain about our high hotel rates. So the fact that she didn't talk about the components of the price build-up is a bit worrying, because that would have been an opportunity for us to know that she understands what we go through, which is why the rates are where they are. But I hope, like she rightly said, if she also opens her doors and welcomes the private sector, including the hotels, to discuss these matters into details, we'll be able to give a fair understanding of the issues, and then she may be able to help us to solve it.
But like she said, looking at some taxes being removed when it comes to the tourism sector, that should in a way trigger some of the hotel rates being dropped, right?
No, it's not as easy as removing some of the taxes. We are actually pushing for consolidation of the taxes within the sector. We have the value-added tax, we have the GET fund, we have the NHIL, we have the COVID-19, we have the sustainability levy, and all that. And then you also come in and add the regulatory fees and then copyright royalties. And see, we are looking for a system that consolidates these taxes and levies into one component tax at affordable levels that will motivate or promote the business. So it's not just about removing, say, the COVID-19. That does not solve the situation. So it requires a deeper appreciation of the issue, because, we have issues about utility tariffs as well. That's also there. And then issues about our high staffing, maintenance. Hotel business is such that if you have to keep an eye on your maintenance 24 hours around the clock, because you are serving clients who are sensitive to anything that has to do with the standards or quality that you expect them to enjoy. Okay, and that's cost for high cost input. And then don't forget also that a lot of the upmarket hotels have to import the things they use because they can't get it on a regular basis here. Okay, so issues about exchange rate and also the high cost of borrowing. The earlier report talked about something like that. The high cost of credit, high cost of borrowing. Okay, now when you put all these things together, that is what makes our prices a bit or appear to be high. But you see, we always talk about comparing our prices with other countries. But what we fail to do is to look at the economic environment, the indicators that contribute to the build-up in the pricing. So if we only talk about the hotel rates and not what leads to the prices that which are then, I think it's a bit unfair. And I hope the minister will be able to explore some of these things when he starts work.
All right.
So that together we'll be able to resolve it. Yeah.
All right. So going forward, as an association, are you considering to meet the minister to deliberate on the taxes you talked about, especially when it comes to the consolidation, as you rightly put it? Would you table that to him?
Certainly. In fact, we have a shopping list that we intend to make it available to the minister, and we hope that she will keep an open door for us, not just the hotels, but all the tourism trade associations, like the car rentals, the tour operators, the tour guides, the restaurant operators, and all of them, the car rentals. You see, there is a provision in the Tourism Act 817, the Public-Private Partnership Forum, which the minister is supposed to organize on a quarterly basis. That is a fine avenue and platform where you'll be able to get feedback from the industry on a regular basis. If she organizes that thing, gives it a special attention and organizes it regularly, 50 or 60% of a problem is solved. The rest will be making sure that the issues or concerns that are raised are dealt with.
All right.
Okay, so I do hope that certainly she will invite us for a meeting, and then this plus other things like the tourism school we've been talking about, plus copyright issues. You know, we are in court with GAMRO and ASOC, a whole host of issues. So if she operates with that open door, we will certainly help her to succeed. It's as simple as that.
Great. Edward Akanyamike Jr., thanks so much for your time. He is the president of the Ghana Hotels Association, speaking to us here on Prime Business. Away from that, to the energy sector now, and the executive director of the Institute of Energy Security, Nanam Wesi VII, has called on government to, as a matter of urgency, adopt stringent measures to combat the menace of illegal mining, popularly known as galamsey. He outlined 4 key action points for addressing the crisis. Helena Akai has more in this report.
A civil society event focused on natural resource and environmental governance, energy transition and anti-corruption, Nana Amoasi VII outlined 4 key action points for addressing the galamsey crisis. He emphasized the need for comprehensive reforms to preserve the environment and safeguard communities.
However, illegal mining continues unabated, resulting in environmental degradation, the destruction of cocoa farms, and the pollution of vital water bodies. We urge you, Mr. President, to 1. Issue a bold directive to halt all illegal mining activities immediately to deter those who defy the law. 2. Repeal the Environmental Protection Regulation 2022, LI 2462, and enhance enforcement of existing mining laws. 3. Empower districts and regional security councils, that's DISEC and RESEC, to enforce bans effectively at the local level. And 4, expedite prosecution of illegal miners by getting the Attorney General to work with the Chief Justice to establish a special court to fast-track illegal mining cases. These actions are vital to protect our forests, rivers, and farmlands, ensuring a stable future for generations to come.
Dr. Steve Mintiao, co-chair of the Ghana Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, also took the opportunity to address corruption within the mining sector. He underscored the importance of enhancing transparency and accountability, particularly in the issuance of mining licenses.
Linked to the galamsey fight is also the risk of corruption. We know there are often rent-seeking and corrupt activities that underpin the allocation of licenses. We want government to issue a bold statement in terms of how it intends to fight corruption in general, including corruption in the allocation of mining licenses.
The event served as a platform for civil society organizations to press for reforms in resource management, urging stakeholders to prioritize environmental sustainability, energy transition, and anti-corruption measures for the benefit of future generations.
Stakeholders in the energy and environment sector are urging the government to backtrack on plans to integrate nuclear energy into Ghana's energy mix. They contend that in addition to it being capital intensive, which will leave the country in debt, nuclear energy is not safe, posing threats to the environment. There is more in the following reports.
Organizations from South Africa, Zambia, Russia and Kenya supported some non-governmental organizations in Ghana in a solidarity engagement to highlight the threat of nuclear energy proliferation in Africa. According to them, nuclear energy is not safe, affordable, nor climate smart. They want government to instead focus its attention on renewable energy sources such as solar. Alberta Kpeloku is with 360 Human Rights.
Looked consequences of nuclear energy, especially with reference to nuclear waste, from environmental disaster to health risks and economic concerns. It's time to reevaluate our reliance on nuclear power. The impacts on the environment include nuclear accidents, radioactive waste, and contamination. Health risks include cancer, genetic damage, kidney disease, and other related conditions caused by radioactive exposure. Additionally, there are security threats such as nuclear proliferation, terrorism, and cyber security risk. The gravamen of our case is that the devastating effects of nuclear accidents do not affect the present generation alone, but also generation yet unborn.
During the last decade, the government has intensively discussed the construction of nuclear reactors with Russian company Rosatom. In 2015, a memorandum of understanding was signed between Ghana and the Russian State Nuclear Corporation. In 2023, Russia proposed to build a nuclear fleet of small reactors in Ghana. Vladimir Slivyak is the co-chair of Russian environmental group Eco Defense and laureate of the Alternative Nobel Prize. He outlines the vulnerability of nuclear energy.
And I'm a campaigner on energy issues for the last 35 years. My organization been opposed to development of nuclear power in Russia for 3 decades. And it's because, first of all, it's very dangerous technology. Second, it's long to build. And if you're looking to solve the problem of energy crisis, it doesn't help, because nuclear reactors will appear not today, even if you pay for them, huge amount of money. Well, even if you pay today, it will appear like in a decade or later. So it's not usable for solving energy crisis right now. I mean, it's expensive thing, it's very long to build, it's very dangerous, and in my country there was the largest nuclear accident in the history of humankind, which is an explosion at Chernobyl nuclear power plant, and a bunch of other nuclear explosions and nuclear accidents that the industry doesn't like to talk about.
I sincerely appreciate your time watching Prime Business with me, Pius Kojo Baka. Prime Sports is next with Razak Musbao.